Fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week. What has been a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark, and it's getaway day. It's getaway day for Rick Ballou earlier, getaway day for myself as well. A little vacation next week. I'll be back on the 21st of July, and at that point, we will be on the doorstep of Jaguar training camp. The first practice will be Wednesday, July the 23rd, so certainly looking forward to a little downtime next week, but really excited when I return. Training camp will be here. By the way, RJ Saunders will be in the chair next week from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock with both Rick and I on vacation. RJ will have open gym for you Monday through Friday, so the local programming will continue up until 8 o'clock next week, and then it'll be back to normal beginning on Monday, July the 21st. But we're going to close out strong. You know, some people might mail it in on a Friday when you know you don't have to come back to work for 10 days, right? Some people might just say, the heck with it. I'm just going to do whatever. I'll do this show or that show. No, not here. Not on Hacker After Dark. We got a lot of stuff for you tonight. In fact, we got Greg Auman, who's covered the NFL for years. He's based in the Tampa area. He is now with FoxSports.com. Greg's one of my faves to talk football with, particularly when the Liam Cohen stuff happened back in, January. We had Greg on a couple of times because he is based down in Tampa. But Greg covers the league from a league-wide view for Fox Sports. So we'll have Greg on to recap the Jaguar offseason, take a look ahead to Jaguar training camp, and take a look around the AFC South. It's what we've done pretty much all week this week, talking to people in Houston, in Indianapolis, in Nashville, obviously here in Jacksonville. What about this division? We'll break it down with Greg Auman of FoxSports.com. That comes up in less than 15 minutes. Brent Beard stops by. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark as we will preview SEC Media Days next week in Atlanta. I know Frangie will be up there with his show representing 1010XL. So we'll preview Media Days from a Florida perspective, a Georgia perspective, and what are the overall big stories in the conference that will be discussed in Atlanta next week for Media Days. We'll talk about all of that with Brent Beard. That comes up in about 35 or so minutes. And later on in the 9 o'clock hour, Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast and the 33rd team stops by. So we got a lot to do. We are with you till 10 o'clock. And as always, Jacksonville, we are glad you are spending your Friday night to close out the week with us here on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Yeah, so with this being basically my last show until training camp, I'll be back on the 21st. Training camp begins on the 23rd. You know, you reminisce about the offseason that has been, and I thought it was interesting that I believe ESPN earlier today, I skimmed through the article, but I did see the grade of C that they gave the Jacksonville Jaguars for the offseason. And this is one of those instances where, and I've talked about this a lot in years past, there is a different perspective of the Jaguars locally with us here on 1010XL, you, the Jaguar fan base in Northeast Florida. There's a different perception of them here than what the perception is nationally, right? And truthfully, the national folks have been right about this team quite a bit over the last 10 to 15 years. I think some of that is because maybe all of us here in Duval County get so caught up in wanting the Jaguars to be good, we're not seeing reality when it's smacking us right in the face, right? So I tried to look at it. If I was doing a radio show in Nashville, Tennessee, or if I was doing a radio show in Indianapolis or in Houston, and I was talking about the division rival Jacksonville Jaguars, if I wasn't right on top of it, if I was looking at Jacksonville kind of like we look at the Texans or the Colts or the Titans, you know about them, but you're not as in-depth as you are with your hometown team. What would we think of the Jaguar roster and the moves they have made this offseason if we did not live in Jacksonville and follow the Jaguars? Well, let's think about this. They hired a first-time head coach in 39-year-old Liam Cohen that, truthfully, the only place he was getting looked at for the head coaching job was here in Jacksonville, right? He didn't have any other interviews for a head coaching job any other place. But he's the head coach here, so Liam Cohen, all right? They hire a 34-year-old general manager in James Gladstone. Again, never been a GM before, hasn't really been in the mix for other GM jobs necessarily. His name's been out there a little bit, but he's 34 years old. Again, if we were not in Jacksonville, this is what we would talk about with the Jaguars. They go out and they release Evan Ingram. They trade Christian Kirk for a bag of chips. They release Gabe Davis. Mitch Morse retires, right? They lose Andre Sisco. They bring in free agents that, quite frankly, did not have a lot of star value. You could argue the biggest star they signed was probably Jordan Lewis from Dallas. But the Eric Murrays of the world, the Robert Hainsey, the Patrick McCarry, I mean, the bottom line is this. This is reality, and this is all factual. I'll get to my overall point on this in a moment. We always talk about the Jaguars brought in 6 offensive linemen this offseason, 4 in pro free agency and 2 in the draft. Well, you guys realize that 5 of those 6 offensive linemen were not starters in the NFL last year, right? McCarry was the only guy that started 8 or more games in the NFL. You bring in Emmanuel Ogbah, all right? You bring in, we mentioned Eric Murray, Jordan Lewis, a couple of tight ends, Johnny Munt, Hunter Long, to go with Brenton Strange. That's the perception outside of Jacksonville. And truth be told, they're not wrong, right? I mean, they're not wrong in that assessment. Everything I just laid out is factual. I mean, that all happened this offseason. There's really no arguing that. But if you weren't in it every day, if you weren't listening every day, if we weren't talking about it every day when it comes to the Jaguars, from an outside point of view, that's what the outside world thinks about the Jaguar offseason. And again, these are not opinions. These are facts. That's what has happened in the last 6 months. But because we're so close to it here, because we talk about it every day with you here on Hacker After Dark, and the rest of the show is here on 1010XL, I think the outside opinion of this team coming into 2025 is wrong. I'm very high on Liam Cohen. I am very high on James Gladstone. I think the additions of De'Ami Brown and Travis Hunter to go with Brian Thomas Jr. could be one heck of a trio at wide receiver. I think the offensive line, albeit a lot of journeyman type guys, but let's be honest, could it get much worse than what we've had here? I don't know. It's been pretty bad, right? I think defensively it was a dumpster fire last year. I think the additions of Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray and Emmanuel Ogbah, Caleb Ransaw, Jack Kaiser in the rookie class, they're not any worse than they were last year. It's impossible to be worse. They couldn't stop anybody a year ago. I like the new defensive staff. I like the new offensive staff. Am I drinking the Kool-Aid? I don't think I'm a super positive guy all the time when it comes to the Jaguars. At least you guys tell me I'm not. But yeah, I think the national perception of this team, albeit factual in what they've laid out, I don't think they see the big picture. I don't think they realize how messed up things were here with Peterson and primarily Baalke. I don't think they realize the injury problems this team had last year, and I don't think they realize how overhauled the roster has been. To me, it's a better roster than what they had a year ago. Are the Jaguars going to win the Super Bowl? No. I would doubt it. Sincerely doubt it. Are they going to make a deep playoff run? Well, what's a deep playoff run? I don't know. Could they win a game in the playoffs if they win the AFC South? It's a home game. I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think that's ludicrous to say they could do that. The outside perception of this team is they're not going to be any good. Houston's going to win the division going away, and Jacksonville will be batting with Indianapolis for second or third in the South. That's the national perception. Some of you locally probably think that, but certainly a lot of people do nationally. What I think is I think this is going to be a 9-8 type football team. I think they're not near as bad as 4-13 last year would indicate. I think it's a better roster. You know, the law of averages says they're not going to be as injured, particularly at starting quarterback for the third year in a row. And I think it's going to be a 9-8 type season. And if it's a 9-8 type season in a division that is as bad as the AFC South, I don't know if 9-8 will win the division, but 9-8 will have you in the conversation late into December, which is certainly not where the Jaguars were a year ago. And just being in the conversation for either a wild card spot or a division title around Christmas would be a monster improvement for this football team with Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Boselli compared to where they were just a season ago. Training camp for the Jacksonville Jaguars is on the horizon. Wednesday, July 23rd. That is the first day. There are 9 practices that will be open to the public. Wednesday, July 23rd is the first practice. Certainly looking forward to training camp getting underway. Denmark, am I drinking the Kool-Aid? I mean, is 9-8 not realistic to you?
9-8 is possible. I think outside Jacksonville, everybody thinks this is about a 7 or 8 win team. So 9 wins isn't far-fetched. You know, ball rolls your way a couple times. 9 wins isn't too far.
You got to survive the first 6 games. The first 5. The first 5 are a bear, man. They are a bear. I mean, you got to beat Carolina. If you don't beat Carolina on opening day, you're going to have problems. Because then you go at Cincinnati, home Houston, at San Francisco, home Kansas City on Monday night. If you don't beat Carolina, you're staring 0-5 in the face. I would gladly take 2-3 in those first 5. Gladly take 2-3. Then you get Seattle at home. You need to beat them, and then you go to London to play LA. If you tell me the Jaguars can be 3-4 or better going into the bye week, I'd sign up right now. Because the last 10 games of the Jaguars schedule, significantly easier on paper than the first 7 games. We're going to know a ton about this Jaguar football team in the first 2 months. Because, again, those first 7 games, with the possible exceptions of home Carolina and home Seattle, those other 5, at Cincy, home Houston, at San Francisco, home Kansas City, London against the Rams. That is tough sledding, ladies and gentlemen. Give me 3-4, and I will be ecstatic knowing the last 10 on the schedule ease up quite a bit compared to the first 7. Let's talk about all of it. Let's recap the Jaguar offseason. Let's look ahead to Jaguar training camp. Let's talk Liam Cohen. Let's talk James Gladstone. Let's talk Travis Hunter. And let's talk AFC South, Houston, Indy, Tennessee, and the Jaguars. We'll do all of it with Greg Auman. He's covered the National Football League for years. He's based down in Tampa. He writes nationally for Fox Sports, and he joins us next on a Friday evening here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
1010XL gives you the most Jaguars in NFL.
This is all a bit much.
The most Gators in college football.
Forgive me if I take a moment to process it.
Get maximum football on 1010XL.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Sometimes you agree with him, sometimes you don't.
On the runway, I'm coming in hot.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Frangie Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
What is the most populated city in the world? The answer next.
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
With a population of an astounding 37.7 million people, Tokyo, Japan is the most populated city in the world.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Yo, E.T. here, and I need you to beat the heat this summer with cool escapes and non-stop fun in Clay County. Tackle indoor adventures head-on. Throw axes at Live by Axe or smash your stress away at Just Smash That. Then kick back with drinks, good food, and fandom vibes at Nakama Anime Bar or Leaderboard Arcade and Bar. Whether you're blowing off steam or just looking to chill, Clay County got your perfect indoor getaway. Find your cool at exploreclay.com. That's exploreclay.com.
I used to dread going to the dentist. Every visit felt like a sales pitch with constant upselling, surprise fees on my bill, and I could never get in when I needed to. But Harbor Dental Care? Totally different. They saw me the next day, gave me honest pricing up front, and even set me up with a payment plan I could actually afford. No pressure, no surprise charges, just kind people who get it. If you want to experience dentistry the way it should be, book your appointment today at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast, but Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Jaguar training camp, less than 2 weeks away. In fact, the rookies come in about a week and a half as the Jaguars get set for the 2025 season. Let's look back on the offseason that was arguably one of the craziest offseasons in Jaguar history. Let's also look around the rest of the AFC South as well. Greg Almonds covered the NFL for years. He's with FoxSports.com, and Greg's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Greg, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me this morning.
Hey, Greg, we always appreciate the time. You and I spoke when Liam Cohen got hired here in Jacksonville at the beginning of the offseason, and as if that wasn't crazy enough, that whole process, it just got weirder and weirder, from 34-year-old James Gladstone to the Jaguars being the most active team in pro free agency to obviously the trade up for Travis Hunter. Greg, from a mile-high view, how would you assess what Jacksonville did this offseason?
It's impressive. I'm struck by how young they are all over, from Gladstone to Cohen to Campanelli to Udesky. Normally you get a coach as young as Cohen, and you kind of want to load the top assistants with veteran types. You think about Bum Phillips, you think about Wade Phillips kind of being there for McVay when he was just starting out. So it's neat to see they've gone all in on their youth. They have two really young coordinators. Obviously a young GM, a young first-time head coach. And then Hunter, obviously, is the biggest thing. To go all in on a move like that, probably as anticipated, as intriguing a single rookie as there is in this class.
Let's talk about him, and I want to talk about him on the field in a moment, but from a James Gladstone, Liam Cohen point of view, talk about putting your stamp on a franchise right out of the gate. The trade up for Travis Hunter. You and I haven't spoke since that moment. What did you take away from what the Jaguars did trading up for Travis Hunter?
I like the aggressiveness of it. I don't know how well he'll take as an every down, full-time kind of two-way player. It might be, they'll figure out what he can handle. I think Rob Gronkowski was talking about how, if they intend him to be, I think, to play both ways. I think one way that teams can challenge that and go after it is just to run more deep routes against him and force him to tire himself defensively so he doesn't have as much energy on offense, to kind of challenge the conditioning aspect of things. And he might prove that he can handle that. Obviously, he's gone all through college handling that. But you see, like I said, in terms of uniqueness and unprecedented aspects of this rookie class, he really is the guy. There's really not a lot you can point to in recent years of anyone that's even attempted it.
Greg Allman, FoxSports.com, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Greg, I agree. I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with Travis Hunter. But if, and it's a big if, but if he does show that he can do it on both sides of the ball, that's a landscape change in the NFL, right? He's going to be a trendsetter in that regard, correct?
I think he'll be a trendsetter in that I think others will want to try to do it. You don't really see that much happening in college right now. So it's not like if this clicks, you're going to see somebody next year doing the same thing. I think you see talented players in college dabble on the other side, but nothing to the extent of what Travis Hunter did. I don't think there's many people that can handle it, either from a mental capacity standpoint or a physical conditioning standpoint. I'm still not sure they know the best way to handle things in terms of just the weekly prep, what meetings he's in on what times. You have to make sure you're at the most important times on both sides of the ball, and those overlap. There's only so many hours in the week in terms of the most important install times and meeting times. So it's going to have to be creative, and it's something where they'll have to make sure he's covered for the things he's not at personally. There's only so much you can do after the fact to catch up on things that you weren't there for in person. But again, the logistics during the week are almost more challenging than balancing on Sunday. On Sunday, all you have to really do is just make sure he's not being overwhelmed physically. You want to be able to have something left. The last thing you want to do is have him play both ways and have a really good first half and then be gassed in the second half, and you don't have the same impact. So they'll figure that out. That's a very, very new challenge for an NFL coaching staff to have. But I think they like that challenge.
Yeah, there's no question. They gave up a first-round pick next year, and we'll see what Travis Hunter can do in a Jaguar uniform. All right, Greg, obviously the Jaguars are going to go as far as Trevor Lawrence is going to take them. Now, I don't like making excuses for the guy because he certainly hasn't lived up to the pre-draft billing from 5 years back. But if you go back to his final year at Clemson, this will be his fourth head coach in 6 years. I mean, for crying out loud, it's the third consecutive year he's had a different center starting with him. So he hasn't been dealt the best hand, no question. But at 25, and he's going to turn 26 in October, Greg, the time is now, right, for Trevor Lawrence to show what he can do?
I think so. I mean, he's gotten that long-term extension. I don't think he's at risk of losing his job. But I mean, I think you look at his numbers overall. You think about second year, he's a Pro Bowler, 25 touchdowns. That goes down a little bit to 21 touchdowns. And then last year he's hurt. Last year only plays 10 games, but 11 touchdowns in 10 games isn't what he's getting paid to do. So, I think having Hunter, having a different offense, having maybe an upgraded overall offense. Liam Cohen, you think about where the Bucs were, the year before he got there, they weren't a top 20 offense, and it's not that he was the only thing that changed last year for the Bucs. They added some key pieces, both, in the skill position talent and the offensive line. But I do think, as much as anything, I think what's important with Cohen is just changing the, I guess you'd just call it the mentality, kind of the confidence of the offense. Like you said, I mean, Lawrence has been through a lot, has had changing systems, changing schemes, both with the head coach, with the OC. I think just the idea that the franchise is committed to Liam Cohen and will build around here, at least the next 2 years, you'd think, that should be something that Lawrence can build around. And I don't know if he's going to have a Mayfield type season where he's throwing 40 touchdowns, but I think if he's healthy, the offense should be a lot more healthy as well.
Couple more for Greg Allman, FoxSports.com. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Greg, we're 7 minutes into the conversation, and I'm always guilty of this, and I'm trying to be better about it. It's all about Travis Hunter. It's all about Trevor Lawrence. But I got to tell you, I'm not so sure the most important player on this team outside of Lawrence is Brian Thomas Jr. Look, Trent Baalke did not do a lot of right things here in Jacksonville, but one of the things he did do was get Brian Thomas Jr. at number 23 in last year's draft, and BTJ has been a stud so far.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, double-digit touchdowns, all the talent and the receivers last year in rookies class, and he's probably right there in terms of production and doing the most. So to get him at 23 when you had guys going top 5, kind of underperforming. So yeah, to have him as a one, as a guy that kind of can even build on that. I think he can be better in this Liam Cohen offense, having a strong 2, if Hunter can step into that role and handle things offensively. I expect the same, to get double-digit touchdowns each of your first 2 years is not easy to do in the NFL, but he's in good position for it. That looks like a great pick. I mean, LSU has put so much talent into the NFL at receiver in the last 5 years. It's not surprising at all. But to see it take, there weren't a whole lot of highlights, a whole lot of positives to take from last year's team. He was probably the best thing they had.
Greg, final Jaguar question before I want to branch out to the rest of the division. On the defensive side of the ball, look, it's all about Joshua Hines-Allen. I think Trayvon Walker, I get it that he's not Aiden Hutchinson, but I think the national almost disdain for Trayvon Walker, I think, is way overblown. The guy's had back-to-back double-digit sack seasons. What is your thought about the Jaguar defense heading into the year?
Oh, I mean, I think Walker's definitely eased a lot of the criticism. I mean, he's not Hutchinson, and that's probably the only thing you can say against him. But when you're the number one overall pick, the bar is unfairly high. So, I mean, I think he's definitely been a guy who's produced for them at a high level, can do so again. Again, changes on defense, changes in coordinator aren't helping him either. But again, I think, the continuity there will help with things. I still think, I mean, you think about last year, I mean, there were a lot of, I think Cohen can help you on defense. I mean, Cohen can help you on offense because you were 26th in the league in offense last year in scoring. You're 29th in defense. So I think that's probably the tougher hill to climb. Just to get to the middle of the pack would be a really good thing for this Jaguars team. And again, I don't know. I don't think having Hunter there obviously is a big change and will help you. I don't know the one person changes your defense as much as maybe on offense. But no, it's a big hill for them to climb, and then just to get to the middle of the pack would be a really great step forward with a new coordinator and a young coordinator.
Final moments, Greg Allman of FoxSports.com. All right, Greg, AFC South. Houston is probably the favorite coming in. The C.J. Stroud question is interesting. Is he more the quarterback we saw in 2023, or is he more the quarterback we saw last year? And I have real questions, I guess, about the Texans' offseason plan, particularly on the offensive line. What was your thought about their offseason?
I thought they did fine. I think Stroud will be closer to who he was his rookie year. A lot of injuries he had to deal with, not having good receivers to throw to the way he had his first year. I feel like this division is still Houston's to lose. They kind of took a step back, but then came out and throttled a team in the playoffs. So, I mean, I thought Houston would be a much bigger team last year than they were. Whether it's kind of a flash in the pan who they were at the end of 23, I don't know yet. But I think of them as easily the team to beat, and a team that I think can be better equipped to, get a second playoff win, get a deeper playoff run. The AFC is so tough to crack because you have so many elite quarterbacks at the top of that conference. But I think they're in a really good position to challenge that, and again, be a double-digit win team that takes this division.
Interestingly enough, 3 former Jaguars will be big players for them. Christian Kirk, Cam Robinson, and Ronald Darby are all now in Houston. With Indianapolis, Greg, you look at the roster, and on paper, it's a terrific roster. The one glaring problem, obviously, is the most important position at quarterback. Richardson versus Jones. How does that shake out, and what do you think about the Colts?
Yeah, they're definitely the hardest to peg in the division. It's one of those where things could go sour and Steichen could lose his job before the year's up, or things could click and they could be the team people thought they might be. I don't know that Anthony Richardson is the answer. I haven't really seen any consistency in him, especially as a passer. Really liked him coming out of Florida. Thought there was a lot to him. It just hasn't taken yet. So with Indy, like I said, I think to have Daniel Jones there, he's probably the compromise. He's probably not as good as Richardson could be, but he's probably better on most days than Richardson has been. So you have to make decisions as a franchise to kind of sink or swim with a young guy, or take, I think Daniel Jones has shown, he can be good with a surrounding cast and maybe get you to 7 or 8 wins. But again, is that enough to keep your job if you're Shane Steichen? I don't know. They're a tough team to pick. I think they're kind of in the middle of the pack there. I don't think they're good enough to get beyond 7 or 8 wins. But again, if things were to click, if Richardson were to be the guy they drafted him to be as high as they did, that's another story.
Greg, finally in Nashville, talking to people around the Titans organization this offseason, they're very excited about Cam Ward. I also think they're very realistic at what 2025 might be for that organization. What's your thought on Tennessee?
Yeah, I still think, it's putting a lot on Cam Ward. I don't know that the supporting cast is there as much. If they're more than a 5 or 6 win team, I would be really impressed. I think from a coaching standpoint, you don't know how much of an extension you get in terms of runway and leeway with a rookie quarterback. Sometimes that helps. Here in Tampa, they didn't have that. And Lovie Smith got fired after Jameis Winston's rookie year. So I do think there's a need to show something and to step forward. Last year set the bar so high for what rookie quarterbacks can do. It's almost unfair for Cam Ward. I don't know that I think of him as a prospect as highly as I did a year ago in guys like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. So I don't think he has the supporting cast that some of those guys had. I think they're better at receiver. They've certainly did a lot to help themselves there. But You look at this team, Jaguars had 4 wins last year. 2 of them were against Tennessee. So, maybe they can get to where they're splitting against Tennessee and Indy. But again, if they're more than a 5-win team, I think it'll be an impressive statement about what Cam Ward's able to do as a guy stepping in. Again, has an offensive-minded coach, has the right situation to make it happen. It's just a tough road for a rookie quarterback most of the time.
Greg, final question. Early July, we won't hold you to it, but as we sit right now, 2 weeks outside of camp, AFC South, 1-4. What's your thought going into training camp?
Right now, it's definitely Houston 1. I would say Indy 2, Jacksonville 3, and Tennessee 4. And 1 and 4, I think, are fairly set. I'll be surprised if that's not the case. It'll be fun to see which out of Indy and Jacksonville can kind of get to 8 wins, kind of challenge for a wild card, that kind of thing.
Greg, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville as training camps begin to open what you'll have there at foxsports.com.
Yeah, getting ready for camps are, 12 days away, 14 days away. Crazy to think about it being that soon. So, yeah, looking forward to things here and getting things started. Definitely want to try and get up to Jacksonville and see Travis Hunter and see Liam Cohen again. And looking forward to seeing how things come together that first year for them.
He's one of our favorites, Greg Auman, longtime NFL reporter. He's now with foxsports.com. Greg, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
All right. Thanks again, man. Take care.
There you go. Greg Auman with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Appreciate his time. Again, Greg's based down in the Tampa area, so I have no doubt he'll make the trip up here to see Travis Hunter and the Jacksonville Jaguars in training camp. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Nothing against these national guys when I bring them on, but it's across the board, right? It's basically every guy that I've had on for the last couple of weeks. It's all Houston, Houston, Houston. And I get it, right? They're the 2-time defending champs. They got what many consider to be the best quarterback in the division in C.J. Stroud. I totally get it. The Houston defense, to me, is very scary. I have mad respect for the Houston defense. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They're good on defense. Offensively, I have some questions. I think their offensive line sucks. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's any good. It was bad last year. I think it's even worse now. I think Nico Collins is all they pretty much have at wide receiver. I'm not a big fan of their wide receiving core. And then you look at running back, they've added a couple of really interesting players in Nick Chubb to go with Joe Mixon. So we'll see what happens there. But clearly, Houston has questions on offense. Wow, a little bit of breaking news here on a Friday night. Denmark, let's do
just on Hacker After Dark.
All right, so the Florida Gators, quickly, as we're about to shift gears to college football anyway, an excellent lead-in. We talk about Billy Napier being hot on the recruiting trail right now, and boy, is he ever, as it's being reported that 4-star edge KJ Ford, who yesterday, I want to say, was predicted to go to Alabama. KJ Ford, one of the best players in America, has just committed to the University of Florida. So Florida had been doing pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. They had taken a couple of shots on the defensive side of the ball as far as recruiting goes. But KJ Ford of Duncanville, out of Duncanville, Texas, he chooses the Gators over Alabama, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Southern Cal, and more. That is a huge pickup for Billy Napier and Florida. Denmark, clearly the Gators making a lot of inroads on the recruiting trail right now.
Yeah, it seems like the last week or two, a couple of guys that they thought they might get have went to another team. This is a big get. I mean, Duncanville, one of the better high school teams in Texas. Edge, you look at the lines of scrimmage, Jake Slaughter, Austin Barber on the offensive side, the defensive side, Sapp and Caleb Banks. It's great that, they're expected to have good years this year and be projected to be, first or second rounders next year, possibly in the NFL draft. Well, you got to get young guys in and replace them eventually. And it seems like Billy Napier and the fellows are getting that as well. So getting the big guys up front for this recruiting class is definitely going to be key for this class of 2026.
KJ Ford, 6'3.5", 245 pounds, Duncanville, Texas. He's ranked as the number 11 edge rusher in America, according to 247sports.com. He's also ranked inside the top 100 according to 24/7 Sports. And again, this is a guy that was predicted to go. I saw some crystal ball predictions to have him go to Alabama. That apparently is not the case as he commits to Florida. And then Florida's got a couple of more they're waiting on tomorrow and Sunday. Could be a very exciting weekend if you follow Gator recruiting. But this is a big one tonight, getting a top 100 player, a top 10, basically, edge rusher in America in KJ Ford out of the state of Texas. Again, it's a verbal commitment. Pen doesn't meet paper till December, but he is verbally committed to the University of Florida. He made that announcement literally moments ago. Speaking of college football, next week, SEC Media Days up in Atlanta. My buddy Brent Beard, you see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. To say that he's an SEC Media Days veteran would be an understatement. This is Brent Beard's time of year. Let's talk Florida. Let's talk Georgia. Let's talk big stories in Atlanta next week during Media Days. Brent Beard joins me next right here on Hacker After Dark.
You can find 1010XL on any social media platform: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. At 1010XL.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through July 31st. And financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. 1010XL is a proud supporter of this year's Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament, the largest fundraiser for marine charities. To join the fun July 10th through 19th at the Jim King Park and Boat Ramp, go to kingfishtournament.com.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Need cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash, and they're ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. And gold market prices are at a record high. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
I'm Hammer and Hayes Carline, and I've been known to drop an opinion like a 2-ton hammer. Weekdays on The Frangie Show.
Hammer Time with Hayes on 1010XL. Driven by Kia on Atlantic. Check us out at KiaOnAtlantic.com.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso Spine and Joint Pain Specialists.
Registration is now open for the Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament. Over $250,000 in cash and prizes available with payouts up to 20 places. course, there's great prizes for lady anglers, and bring along your junior anglers as well. Register today at kingfishtournament.com. Even if you're not on the water, spectators will enjoy fun exhibits, food, kids' activities, and a fireworks display at the Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament.
Get ready. The Jacksonville Rock Orchestra brings to life the magic of Fleetwood Mac. Like you've never heard it before. A 27-piece symphony fused with a full rock band, performing timeless hits like Rhiannon, Dreams, and You Make Loving Fun. One night only, July 11th at the historic Florida Theater. Get tickets today at floridatheater.com.
Hey, it's Carline here. If you're shopping for a new ride, you've got to check out Atlantic Infinity. Not only do you get a luxury vehicle, you also get the Atlantic Infinity Promise Free with every new car. That's almost $2,500 in added value just for buying smarter, and you don't have to sweat it out on the lot. Shop in their indoor, climate-controlled showrooms. It's cool, comfortable, hassle-free. They're on Atlantic near St. John's Bluff, or browse anytime at atlanticinfinity.com.
If life blindsided you tomorrow, would your family struggle? I'm Cody with Harborstone Financial, and I can help. One call could protect your family for life. 904-885-9566. Harborstone Financial.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The middle portion of July means we have arrived at SEC Media Days. It'll take place next week up in Atlanta. In fact, the Big 12 Media Days is already in the books. SEC next week. The following week is the Big 10 and the ACC. So we are certainly in Media Days season as we sit now 6 weeks away from the start of the 2025 college football campaign. Let me talk to my friend Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. To say Brent is a veteran of SEC Media Days would be an understatement, and Brent's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Brent, how we doing?
Well, I missed 3 of them since the early 90s, and one of those was the COVID year where everybody missed. So it is back in Atlanta, not my favorite place to have it just because it's so difficult to get around. I'll be curious where it goes next year. It may go back to Nashville where we were a couple of years ago. But Media Days, in many ways, Hack, is the unofficial beginning of the season to some degree.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Media Days, I also did an interview with Phil Steele earlier in the week. So, yeah, I've pretty much hit all my precursors for the start of what I think is college football season. Brent, at Media Days next week in Atlanta, I want to talk Florida. I want to talk Georgia, certainly with you. But big picture, what are kind of the key storylines that you expect to be at Media Days?
Well, there are many, but one of the big ones is going to be what's the SEC going to do, or as far as their conference schedule, do they stay at 8 or do they go to 9? The SEC and the ACC are both still at 8. Now, the Big 10 and the Big 12 are they have moved to 9 conference games, which I do think the SEC will eventually go to. I don't think they're anywhere near a vote, but Greg Sankey will be asked over and over again what is the progress on 8 or 9 and 12 or 16. So all those numbers will be very familiar by the end of Media Days.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. We also have him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, the fact that the SEC has not had a national champion in the last 2 seasons, obviously Michigan and Ohio State, the Big Ten's on a little bit of a streak here. How much pressure is there on the SEC coming into 2025?
Well, that'll be one of the questions that will be asked. There will always be plenty of SEC teams who are in the picture. I think expanding the playoffs takes some of that pressure off to some degree, but in this conference, people are used to winning national champions. Texas, I think, is probably going to be the favorite to win the SEC, and they've got a good enough team, even though they've only got 3 coming back on offense and 5 on defense. But they still could be and will be very good. So I think the pressure is there, but I'm almost wondering now sometimes if it's if people aren't putting more emphasis on how many teams do you get in as much as who wins the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a different landscape in college football with that playoff. You know, last year, Brent, prior to Media Days in 24, I remember you and I had a conversation about Billy Napier and would he be at SEC Media Days in 2025? Well, obviously he is. What about this year? The hottest seats in the conference coming into the season?
Well, the hottest seat is Hugh Freeze at Auburn. And when you look at the numbers, it's not very attractive. Hank, this is amazing. Auburn has not had a winning season since 2020.
Wow.
They've been 6-6, 5-7, 6-7, and 5-7.
Why has it not worked for Freeze there on the Plains so far, Brent?
I think that is one of the real interesting questions in the league right now. I talked to a lot of people who say Freeze really doesn't want to be there. Now, obviously, Freeze is going through a cancer situation, but the Auburn people have said that it is not progressing and that he can have surgery either immediately or after the season. One of the real things that is a bugaboo for him, they're not doing well in recruiting. They're 79 in the nation. Can you believe that? Heck, 79 in the nation in recruiting rankings. Now, look, I understand it's just July, and that will get better. But at this point of the season in recruiting, that is not very good. He's got a lot of criticism because he's played golf a good bit. Look, people play golf and they fish or whatever they do, and Hugh Freeze deserves to do and have some of that time off. But there are just questions, I think, right now from a lot of people. Is Freeze a real fit to be at Auburn? And this is a crucial year for him. He has admitted that if he basically doesn't win 8 games, that he won't be back next year. And they start with a difficult game on the road at Baylor on the first Friday night of the season.
Brent, outside of Hugh Freeze, I guess Sam Pittman in Fayetteville, obviously Billy Napier probably is still got a warm seat, and it'll get considerably warmer depending on how those first 6 games go. Would those be the next 2? Is Mark Stoops in any trouble in Lexington? What's your thought there?
I don't think he's in trouble in Lexington as much as there's a lot of questions about has it gone stale. That's kind of the problem. I mean, Kentucky picked to win 5 games this year, and depending on who you look at, or actually 4.5, I can tell you this: if he's 4-8, he probably won't be back. But I think the reality for that is, in this day and age, you go back and see how much is the buyout, and that determines a lot of where this goes. But Stoops says he's still motivated to win, but they've really struggled. And look, for our listeners, people probably and maybe forget that Liam Cohen was the OC at Kentucky not once but twice over the last few years. One year it did much better than the other. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line and the quarterback, but I think that's that's a valid situation because a lot of people in this offseason, including Kentucky beat writers, thought that he may step aside and do something else.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, let's quickly go to Florida. They announced that DJ Lagway, along with Caleb Banks and Jake Slaughter, would be their representatives. Look, I get the media loves the fact that Lagway's there, and no one's going to complain about that. To me, I was maybe a little surprised as a true sophomore. Lagway could obviously go again next year when you got guys like Tyreek Sapp and Austin Barber that are both projected to be maybe first-round picks in the NFL draft that aren't going. I guess it just goes to show you how, I guess, admired and respected Lagway is in that Gator locker room and amongst that Gator program.
I think that's a lot of it in how talented he is. I think the other part of it is, and look, this is the way the media can be. If he does not go, there would be all kinds of articles written to the degree of, well, since he's not here, does that mean that he's not ready to play and will play very little next year? So I think it's important not only for being rewarded for being a team player and the respect that he's got in the locker room, but to actually have him there and people going to look at him and see, and he can deal with those questions in the first person, I think is huge for Florida.
Brent, you talk to a lot of people that cover the conference around the region. What is the thought, maybe outside of our area, about Florida in 2025?
I think it's a lot more positive than it's been. I mean, people know this is Napier's best roster, and frankly, it's not even close. I mean, they know if Lagway is healthy, what he can do. I mean, he's a much better quarterback than Anthony Richardson was, so they're happy with a guy who can make all the throws. But he's got weapons around him. Jaden Baugh, obviously. The wide receivers, the Wilson kids are really good. The offensive line may be the best in the league, if not one of them. Jake Slaughter and Austin Barber. You got Pup Howard on defense, Caleb Banks. So there are just a lot of talent on this team that is coming together. It's all this is kind of predicated on this brutal schedule again that basically flip-flops. But I think compared to last year, there's a lot more optimism for Florida.
Final moments with Brent Beard. Brent to the Georgia Bulldogs. Gunnar Stockton will be among those representing Georgia. They're at Media Days in their own backyard in Atlanta. You know, it's interesting, Brent, for their standards. Dare I say Georgia may be lying under the radar a little bit. I was talking to some people with Dogs 247 last week and some others that cover the conference. You know, people love Texas, as you said earlier. I think people think Alabama is going to be pretty good. I think people think LSU is going to be pretty good. Yet Georgia, again, people think they're going to be good, but for their standards, maybe under the radar a little bit, which I would have to think Kirby Smart's got to be very happy about.
Very happy about that. Gunnar Stockton's still a question mark because he hasn't played that much, but they love him. He fits the culture, and I think he'll do well. Nate Frazier is a good running back. The offensive line was hurt so much last year. Seeing them back healthy will be a real plus. The wide receivers dropped 30 passes, but they've got Noah Thomas from A&M. And I think the receivers will be better. Two really good tight ends. I mean, you know, the defense is going to be also good. ESPN did an interesting thing, the weakness of all 25 top 10 teams. And for Georgia, it was their pass rush. Now, Kirby will tell you quickly that rushing the passer is not the end all with this, but they do have to get better at rushing the passer. It's more important, Kirby says, for quarterback hurries than even with sacks. But their questions, and in September, Hack, Tennessee and Bama or in September or so, we will know quickly how this Georgia team is.
Brent, as we begin to wrap up, you'll be amongst the media that are voting next week in Atlanta at Media Days. Your personal top 5 teams coming into the 2025 season, not to put you on the spot, but if I were to say, all right, Brent, give me who you think is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 when all's said and done in December. How do you see it right now?
I would probably go with Texas, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, and I think I would probably go with Florida. But the great thing about the league, and I think why the league is better than the Big Ten, is, Ohio State, Penn State, those are teams that, in Michigan at times too, and maybe even Oregon. But what makes the league so good is Ole Miss or South Carolina, or maybe even an A&M on a decent year. Some of your middle of the pack teams in the league could surprise people and end up in the playoffs. Right now, and that's pretty much what you're seeing in the latest odds. You've got Bama, Georgia, Texas at 9.5, LSU, Ole Miss, and to Tennessee at 8.5. So that to me, Hank, is what makes the league so strong. Is how these middle of the pack teams compared to other conferences can end up even in the championship game at the end of the year.
You see Brent Beard on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, safe travels to Atlanta. You'll be at Media Days next week. I will be at a pool in a lazy river in Central Florida next week. So we'll reconvene in 2 weeks and recap what should be a very action-packed SEC Media Days. Thank you as always, my friend.
Enjoy it, friend, and we will look forward to being back together in a couple of weeks.
Let's hear your story.
Dan Hicken.
Chicks dig me because, well, I have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Mornings on the Drill.
Eat your heart out.
On 1010XL.
He's had a lot of near success.
Beer, water, beer. That's a pretty good game plan when it comes to battling the summer heat. When you hit the beach, fishing hole, or golf course, make sure you hydrate. Anheuser-Busch is always up for a good time. Just remember to drink responsibly.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1225. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1225. That's 800-777-1225 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Coming soon, Pine Royale, a fully illuminated synthetic par 3 course built for day or night play. Plus a driving range with TrackMan Tech for virtual courses and interactive games. Mini golf, restaurant, and bar all in one place. Whether you're a serious golfer or just here for good vibes and great food, Pine Royale brings fun nonstop. Smash a burger, a bucket of balls, and even a night round under the lights. Grab your clubs, your crew, and your short game. Pine Royale is coming soon off I-295. Learn more at pineroyale.cc.
Frank Franzi here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville is full of memorable sports moments. Remember Hal Sutton when he famously said, "Be the right club today"? Well, that's what Coil Fencing delivers, the right fence today. And they've been delivering the right fencing for both commercial and residential properties for nearly 100 years. If you're in the market for a new fence, call Coil & Sons today at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us. Hi folks, Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Ever wonder what to do with leftover paint that you don't want? Here's a few options. Paint can be placed in the regular trash if it's dry. Simply stir in kitty litter to a thick consistency. Then wait a few days with the lid off till it dries. Also, if the paint is good, there's many charities or churches that would love to have it. If you'd like more tips or have a project, we'd love to help. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
Hey, Jacksonville Hicken here. I've been around the block or two, and Checkmate Coatings is who I'd call for my own place. They're my new MVP for stunning, long-lasting floors.
Brendan here with Checkmate Coatings. No massive overhead means top prices on top-quality pool decks, driveways, garages, and patios, too.
Visit CheckmateCoatings.com today. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. 2 weeks away from Jaguar training camp as they will get ready for the 2025 NFL campaign. What an offseason it was here in Jacksonville. Let's look back on maybe the craziest offseason in Jaguar history, and let's also look around the rest of the AFC South. One of our favorites is Steve Palazzolo. You can check him out at the 33rd Team. He's also one of the co-hosts of the Check the Mic podcast, and Steve is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Steve, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, Steve, we always appreciate it, man. You and I haven't spoke since I think the Liam Cohen situation here way back in January. When you take into account Cohen, the Gladstone hire, free agency, and obviously Travis Hunter, from a mile-high view, Steve, how would you assess what the Jaguars did this offseason?
Well, I think it's going to be exciting going forward. I think, there's certainly plenty of drama attached to that, some aggressiveness with that Travis Hunter move. So I think at the very least it's exciting. I think it's a great opportunity to get a good offensive mind like Liam Cohen, to get a young up-and-coming star as far as NFL executives go with a James Gladstone, and then a Travis Hunter, right? This aggressive move where you give up a future first-round pick. And the Rams, so the Rams Super Bowl team, we used to always reference it on our podcast as stars and scrubs, and that's no offense to the other players, but they were star driven, and I think you saw this early move to go get a star, and they already have an emerging star in a Brian Thomas Jr. There's hope, of course, that Trevor Lawrence will be a more consistent star at the quarterback position. So I think the Jags and Gladstone, they're going big or going home, and I think we saw that throughout this offseason.
And to that point, I mean, what does it say, Steve, about a 34-year-old in James Gladstone and a 39-year-old in Liam Cohen? I mean, talk about putting your stamp on the franchise right out of the gate to make arguably the biggest trade in franchise history to go up to get Travis Hunter. I mean, that took some guts, correct?
No, it did. And look, Travis Hunter is a unique prospect. That's what we talked about throughout the entire process. So, doing it when you trade up for non-quarterbacks, it's generally difficult to match the value on the other side of the trade. Will Anderson was traded for essentially 3 really high picks, top 34 picks a couple years ago. And as great as Will Anderson is, the Houston edge rusher, they still gave up 3 good players. And it's not necessarily this clear win for the Texans, so to speak, but they got a star player and they're happy with it. And most of those trades up for non-quarterbacks are difficult to match the value on the other side. But Hunter's a unique prospect because of the two-way deal, because of everything that the Jags have talked about with his character. And, I was talking to a team that was picking in the teens right before the draft, and they were just raving about Travis Hunter. They were like, man, this guy is awesome. And they knew they had no chance to draft him, but they just loved and raved about his character and everything about him from a football perspective and what he brings to the table. And clearly that's what the Jags are buying into here. So that aggressive move, but when you start to stack potential stars like Travis Hunter, like Brian Thomas Jr., catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, and then you add in Hunter's versatility at corner and what he can do there, even if it's not on a game-to-game basis, but even season to season, the depth chart flexibility that he gives you if you're loaded at receiver one year and struggling at corner, the fact that he can move around and fill those gaps, the uniqueness to Travis Hunter's game, though, I think makes it a lot easier to justify that trade up.
Steve Palazzolo, Check the Mic podcast, also a part of the 33rd team. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Steve, you've covered the league for a long time, man. Is it physically possible to do what Travis Hunter wants to do, which is have a primary role on offense and, for that matter, a primary role on defense? I don't think anybody necessarily knows yet how it's going to ultimately play out this season, but there's no doubt that in Travis Hunter's mind, he believes he can do a lot of both on both sides of the ball.
I mean, look, I think it'll be difficult, but I thought it would be difficult for Travis Hunter to do what he did at Colorado. Not only playing games where he had 130, 140 snaps, but doing it in the thin air, in Denver, in Colorado, basically. So, look, I'm never gonna doubt a Travis Hunter, but it is a different animal, right? There's a different level of physicality in the NFL. There's this 17-game schedule, and it sounds crazy, but just adding that extra game has felt like teams have dealt with even more attrition with that extra week. Heading into the playoffs, we've seen teams like the Dolphins didn't have any edge rushers a couple years ago going into their game against Kansas City, and Buffalo has been losing 3, 4, 5 defensive starters heading into their playoff games the last couple of years. It does feel like teams are getting a little bit more beat up. But of all the people, I saw Travis Hunter go out there, and there were certainly some games where it felt like he looked a little fatigued, playing man coverage and everything, and, playing corner. But unreal that he was able to do what he did in college playing 140 snap games. I don't want to dismiss what he did. It'll be more challenging in the NFL, and I can't wait to see it. So I don't know if he can do it, but I do think it's probably best to be wise and figure out how to pick your spots and not have him playing 140 snaps. But even if he gives you 30 on defense and 70 on offense, it's an incredible weapon. If he can just be, 1.5 players instead of just one player, that's part of the value of taking him at number 2.
We'll get to Trevor Lawrence in a moment. We've spent a lot of time on Travis Hunter. I want to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. on the Check the Mike podcast, one of the latest editions you and Sam Monson did. You talked about the best players in the league under the age of 25, and I believe BTJ was very high on your list. So needless to say, you're a Brian Thomas Jr. fan.
Yeah, and look, both Sam and I on our podcast were a little skeptical of him as a future star, but I think we saw it pretty early on last year. We were more skeptical during the draft evaluations, inconsistent hands and maybe, could he be more than a deep threat? I think he answered all those questions in year one. You could see the target share and, the way he was being used later in the season. Clearly the Jags had more confidence in him as well. So, yeah, I mean, he's a difficult cover. He's behind the defense often. There was so many plays where he could have had even more yards if Trevor or Mac Jones didn't overthrow him on a couple of those deep balls. I think his route running looked very good. He was getting in and out of breaks extremely well. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. showed that he could be a high volume number 1 receiver, not just a vertical threat, but while also maintaining, being one of the better vertical threats in the NFL. So, yeah, I was very impressed with his rookie season. And, I think him and Malik Neighbors coming out of LSU both showed that they could be big-time downfield threats or every level threats, really, at wide receiver.
A couple of more for Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mike podcast. He's also a part of the 33rd team. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. To Trevor Lawrence, Steve, you and I have had this conversation, I know, the last 2 or 3 years in the month of July, talking about how big a year it is for Trevor. And again, here we are. It's a big year. He's 25. He's going to be 26 in October. If you go back to his final year at Clemson, this will be his 4th head coach in 6 years. This will be his 3rd straight year with a different center. I mean, it's not exactly been an easy transition to the NFL, but hopefully now with Liam Cohen and an offensive mindset with Cohen and that staff, maybe this is finally the time for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and look, I've brought up, because when Trevor came out, you get these comps to, Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and best QB prospect since, and then, Caleb Williams comes along a couple years later, and he gets the same comps. But look, Andrew Luck's career path was an interesting one for me that I thought Trevor Lawrence could go through, where Luck was never really elite or playing in this top 5 to 8 quarterback category for me until year 5 or 6. And then, unfortunately, he retired. But his last couple of years, I thought Andrew Luck is really when he started to put it together. And I know we've been spoiled with guys like Patrick Mahomes immediately hitting the ground running, or Josh Allen in year 3, things just clicked. And it was just a cleaner story. And Lawrence doesn't have a clean story. It looked like he might, right? Like halfway through 2022, it's almost like they flipped a switch and all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence is playing like a top 5 quarterback. Let's do that in perpetuity. And then he kind of carried it into 23. Then they collapsed a little bit down the stretch, had all those injuries, trying to play through injuries. Last year had injuries and had some inconsistency early in the season. So I don't know how you bottle up consistency. But that's what Lawrence has been lacking. There's been spurts, right? You can take any 5-game stretch or 10-game stretch. There's a few of those in Trevor Lawrence's career where you say, okay, that's it. But bottling that up and doing it week to week, I thought early last year, accuracy, some decision-making was just off early in the season. And that's what he needs to tidy up. And like I said, I thought Andrew Luck had a very good career. And early on, I think he had a lot on his shoulders and he carried it well. But then there was a point where he cleaned up some of his decision-making. He was more accurate and just played cleaner football from start to finish. And that's what you need from a Trevor Lawrence. And I think Liam Cohen does have a chance to get that out of him. I think Cohen's done a really nice job. I mean, he had Baker Mayfield's best statistical season last year as play caller. You go back to Will Levis at Kentucky, and the one good year that Will Levis had that got him drafted high was with Liam Cohen. And so if they could find that balance of giving them the easy stuff, getting the ball to the playmakers, stat padding, so to speak, and then allowing Trevor Lawrence to, play free and do what he does, it's going to be important. Plus the injury aspect. I think, this is a couple straight years of battling through injuries, and I think it's a big deal. And a lot of that is QB playing style and making sure that you're not getting hit. I know there's a late hit last year, and that was a big factor. I'm not going to blame Trevor Lawrence for that, but you really have to take care of yourself at the quarterback position going forward. Again, not blaming. I'm just saying when you're battling injuries, he was battling, 5 injuries in 2023 down the stretch. You have to find ways to just take fewer hits. That's what kept Tom Brady, Drew Brees. That's what kept those guys healthy throughout their career, Peyton Manning until the very end. So I think that's going to be a big part of Trevor Lawrence's game as well.
Final moment, Steve Palazzolo, the Check the Mic podcast. Steve, final Jaguar question, then I want to end with a quick thought on the division. The defense has some names, right? Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, Foye Oluokun, Tyson Campbell. We'll see what happens with Travis Hunter. Obviously a completely new defensive staff. What's a thought from you on the Jaguar defense entering 2025?
Yeah, I mean, they were really disappointing last year with a new system. And it's funny because the new system on defense can kind of go either way. I think the Jags, maybe back in 2012, one of those years over a decade ago, they just kind of had similar personnel, changed the defensive scheme, and they were better, at least for a stretch of play. I could see that happening this year. That happens a lot around the league where you just get a new system, similar players, and they just play better. I thought last year secondary had just a ton of issues. They just weren't putting it all together defensively. But I think they've got a pretty deep defensive line with Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker developing, becoming a more consistent down-to-down presence. I think, just having Eric Armstead and some of the depth there, having a buy low on one of my favorite players, Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck, whenever he can come back and rush the passer. I love that guy. So I think they've got some talent, and just the scheme change itself will allow them to make some improvements. And if they get back to, middle of the pack defensively, I think they have an opportunity to have a really good offense. And that's what becomes a really good season, if that defense can just get back toward a mid-tier type of unit as the offense, has a chance to lean into their explosiveness and creating big plays.
Steve, final question. We won't hold you to it. It's only the middle part of July, but here we stand, training camp about 2 weeks away. What are your thoughts on the division? I mean, Houston appears to be the favorite coming in. Quarterback situation in Indy up in the air. Who knows about Cam Ward in Tennessee? What are your thoughts on the AFC South as it stands right now?
I was really high on Houston last year. They finished in the final 8, which is a good season, but they still disappointed me a little bit based off what I saw from C.J. Stroud as a rookie, and thinking that they would take another step offensively while that defense has top 5 potential. I'm going into this year thinking similarly, where I think if Houston can just get their offensive line back to average, and maybe some of the scheme and some of the personnel changes there can help them. They've got C.J. Stroud, the playmakers. I think that defense is fierce with their edge rushers and their secondary. They could turn the ball over and just create havoc. I really like Houston again this year to challenge some of those top teams in the AFC. I think Indy's one of those teams that could go either way. We could be looking at Daniel Jones, if he's a starter, having the best situation he's ever had with a decent offensive line and some playmakers to throw to. So Daniel Jones in that situation can do some damage. And I think Tennessee's in a clear rebuild. But just like last year, Washington was in a rebuild. But if Jaden Daniels was special and, took them to the, Final Four. So if Cam Ward is special right off the bat, Tennessee could surprise. I think they'll be a tough team to play. But at the end of the day, they just have less talent than everyone else. But I think, Tennessee and Indy are just wild cards depending on their quarterback situation. And I think Houston, to me, they look like the best team in the division heading into this year.
Steve, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Check the Mic podcast, where and when they can find it.
Yeah, Check the Mic. We're still in off-season mode right now, but in a couple weeks, moving into a new studio. We're going to be previewing every single team, every division heading into the year in late July. So we're live Monday at 9 a.m., Thursday at 9 a.m., and then during the season, Wednesday at 9 a.m. as well on YouTube, and then wherever you listen to your podcast. Check the Mic.
Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast. Steve, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Yep, sounds good. Appreciate it.
Tommy Mack joins Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl for the new and improved Helmets and Heels. New attitude, new time. Catch the new look Helmets and Heels afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL. Tommy Mack makes his Helmets and Heels debut July 14th.
You wouldn't drive your car 50,000 miles without an oil change. So why are you ignoring your septic tank? That thing's working around the clock, taking every flush, shower, and mystery casserole down the line. Eventually, it fills up. And when it does, you do not want to find out the hard way. Don't wait for the stink. Septic tanks need to be pumped every 3 to 5 years. Call 904-862-6769 to schedule your septic pump out with the pros at Duck Duck Rooter. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
Storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through July 31st. And financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
The playoff-bound Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are in full swing at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game, and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Kick off another college football season with players, coaches, and insiders of the best conference. The Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing SEC Media Days. Opened by Window World of Northeast Florida, Underwood Jewelers, and Florida Pest Control.
Football season is almost here, so before it arrives, I'm going to get my home organized. Lauren Brooks here. Closets by Design creates custom storage for every space, lifestyle, and budget. From closets to garages to laundry rooms or entertainment centers, anywhere that needs to be organized. Call today to schedule a free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off with free installation. Yes, that's 40% off plus an additional 15% off during the month of July. Call 878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a fight for the last slice of pizza? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast. But Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Summertime is busy with graduation parties, summer barbecues, festivities, family gatherings. The month of July, National Carpet Cleaning Month. So Zero Res is offering $45 per room of carpet clean and 20% off air duct cleaning services as well. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call them 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards, it spells the same. Zero Res.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Our tour of the NFL divisions comes to an end this week with the AFC South. We started back in early May. We have hit every division, every NFL team, ending this week with our, division rivals. And with that, let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Interesting offseason for Tennessee. Of course, the big story is Cam Ward and how the number 1 overall pick will perform here in his rookie campaign. One of our guys when it comes to the Titans is my buddy Brad Steele. He's the host of the Two Tone Talk podcast, and Brad's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Brad, hope your offseason has gone well, man. How are you?
It's going well, man. Something about flipping that calendar to July, it just makes it all feel a lot closer, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's
in June it feels so far away, but then something about July, you're just like, man, we're almost there.
There's no doubt. We're 2 weeks away from training camp. In fact, I think the first training camps open up in about a week and a half for the teams that are playing in the Hall of Fame game. All right, the Titans. Probably not the year in 2024 you had hoped for. A lot of money spent, not a lot of results, and as a result of that, a brand new general manager. Let's rewind the clock back to Ran Carthon being dismissed from his duties, a new GM being brought in. Brad, was that the right move?
Oh, what a complex answer to that question, because I think in the grand scheme of things, I hated the way it looked because it just screams dysfunction. Because 2 years ago, the Titans fired John Robinson, who was the GM. Last year, they fired Vrabel, who was the head coach. This year, they fired Ran, who was the new GM. It feels like every offseason somebody's getting fired. So I did hate to see that happen again, because it feels like you're hitting reset again. But considering the circumstances, I do like Mike Borgonzi, who they hired from Kansas City. Obviously, anybody from Kansas City these days is probably going to, intrigue you because of what they're doing there. And so I like Borgonzi. I like his, kind of business approach to everything. Ran was very laid back, kind of just wanted to be a bro, I guess you would say. But Mike Borgonzi is all business. And so I like that. I like that hire, but I do hate that we had to be in that position again of letting somebody go.
Yeah, the Jaguars and Jaguar fans are saying hold my beer on the dysfunction with what the offseason we had down here. We're in the same boat there. No doubt about that. But the Jaguars have come out clean on the other side. I mean, we love Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and everything they've done. Talk about Borgonzi up there in Nashville. How do you feel his first offseason has gone?
It's one of those things where if you were playing the Madden video game, you would want a Ran Carthon, because it's just, I'm going to go sign every big free agent. I'm going to make every big trade. I'm going to do all of this fun off-season stuff, and I'm going to try to win the whole thing in May and June, Whereas Mike Borgonzi has not had a flashy first off-season. He has made very not flashy moves, signing guys like Xavier Woods at safety and a bunch of offensive linemen as depth pieces, stuff that doesn't make headlines, but that makes you feel a little better and stable about the organization, because we tried signing every major free agent last off season, and that's just not how you build a team. That's not how you build a good franchise, turns out. So I like kind of coming in and agreeing that we're not going to try to conquer Rome in a day. We're going to just try to get as good of a supporting cast around the new quarterback as possible. So, yeah, I like what he's done so far.
Brad Steele, the host of the Two Tone Talk podcast covering the Tennessee Titans. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, the interesting thing about the seesaw between GMs and head coaches every offseason is that Borgonzi did not hire Brian Callahan. Callahan was underwhelming in year one. Is Callahan on a little bit of a warm seat heading into year two?
I think so. I mean, that's one of the things that concerns me the most about the Titans right now is that with that, like you said, the seesaw of you fire a GM, the next year you fire the coach, then the next year you fire the GM again. What the Titans have not done yet is fire both and bring in two new people at the same time that can start together. And they didn't do that this time. They got the new GM. They already have the head coach. Like you said, Brian Callahan, in my opinion, underwhelming in year one. I don't think he was as much of a problem as Will Levis, but I do think he left a lot to be desired, and there is reason for Titans fans to be concerned about him. I think obviously he's a Callahan, so he's got football in his DNA, and hopefully he can turn it around. And he was a rookie head coach, and they're prone to make mistakes as well. But definitely one of the probably in the top three things I'm most worried about with this organization going into this year is Brian Callahan for sure.
Well, clearly the story of the Tennessee Titans offseason was Cam Ward, the number one overall pick. Our apologies that Jacksonville made that trade for number 2 and kind of stole the headlines. I know you got pretty fired up about that on your podcast, that Cam Ward didn't get a lot of media attention that night in April. But how has Cam Ward looked this offseason? What's kind of the thought among the Titan fan base as he enters his rookie campaign?
Well, I do want to say, first of all, my anger, for anybody wondering, was not directed at Jacksonville as much as it was at ESPN and Mel Kiper, because I think there was a way to cover everything without just disregarding one of the two. But that's another story for another time. But as far as camp, I mean, listen, all we've done is the mini camps and the OTAs, so there's not a whole lot to go on. Really, you have some practice clips that have come out, and that's great to see, but as well as I do that it's easy to just declare somebody great because of that. It's very little to go on. So we'll see training camp coming up, but I will say I really like him. I always liked him. I was always kind of hoping that the Titans would draft him. A lot of comparisons made to Steve McNair, the late Steve McNair. I know you remember him. And so I like that. I like his mindset. And I know, a lot of people say that about a lot of players early on. Well, he's got a good attitude. He's got a good mindset. But I do think Cam has come in and I think he knows where this organization is right now. And they need not just somebody to come in and play well, but somebody to come in and lead well. And so I like everything that we've seen from him so far, but it's just not much. You know how it is this time of year.
Year 2 for Calvin Ridley up in Nashville. Obviously, year 1, I think he did the best he could under the circumstances. He's now going to be 30-plus here in year number 2 with Tennessee. What's your thought on Ridley entering the season?
Well, I said it was one of the most impressive accomplishments of his pro career that he was able to find over 1,000 yards receiving with what the Titans had at quarterback last year. I thought that was actually pretty remarkable that he was even able to do that. But, they're going to need him to be good. I understand the age. He's another year older. But when you look at their receiving group, Treylon Burks is obviously, that ship has about sailed. They got some guys in the 4th round that people are intrigued by. They've got a veteran like Tyler Lockett who's been signed, but Calvin Ridley far and away is going to have to be wide receiver 1 on the team. And again, I think it was impressive that he was even able to find 1,000 yards last season. And so I think seeing him and Cam Ward together, they've talked a lot about each other this offseason and how they're getting along and everything. And I guess that's what you want early on here. But, yeah, I'm glad we have him for right now, for where the team is, needing somebody reliable for Cam Ward. And, hopefully he can be a reliable target for him.
Final moments. Brad Steele, the host of the Two Tone Talk podcast covering the Tennessee Titans. Brad's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Outside of Ridley, you mentioned the other wide receivers. I mean, Tony Pollard had a decent year last year, Tajay Spears, and we know the problems that the offensive line there in Tennessee had against Borgonzi, the new GM, tried to do something about that this offseason.
Yeah, he did. And I said Callahan was one of my top 3 concerns for this Titans team this year. One of the other top 3 concerns is the left tackle. The Titans drafted J.C. Latham to play left tackle last year, even though he played right tackle in college at Alabama. Now they've moved J.C. to right tackle, and they signed Dan Moore to a pretty hefty contract. He was with the Steelers before, and I mean, left a lot to be desired there at left tackle in Pittsburgh. Not that he was like the worst player in the world, but he certainly wasn't the best either. And so I'm worried about that position in particular, because the tackles for Tennessee over the last few years have just been abysmal since Taylor Lewan left. And so I'm hoping that Dan Moore can provide some stability, but I'm very skeptical about him. They did sign Kevin Zeitler from Detroit. I like that one more. I like that signing more because it was cheaper, and I just think Zeitler is a better player at right guard. But yeah, I'm definitely concerned about the left tackle position for sure.
If I were a betting man, and I don't know this, you say you have 3 concerns, one being Callahan, the other being the offensive line. The third one, I look at the Titans defense, Brad, and I look at Arden Key, and nothing against Arden Key, right? Good player. You could argue he's literally on the Titans roster the best pass rusher. And if Arden Key is your best pass rusher, as far as the edge position goes, that's a problem, correct?
Correct. I would say if there's someone better than him at that position on the roster, it's not by much. They drafted an edge rusher in the 2nd round, and you know how it is. I'm never going to declare someone as being the best when they haven't even played yet. So, yeah, for me, Arden Key is a good this is the best way I could say it, a good rotational piece. Like, he would be a good guy to come in, when somebody needs water or a break. But last year he had to start, and this year he very well may have to again unless somebody emerges in training camp. And, yeah, you'd like to be in a better place than that. If Arden Key is the best pass rusher on the team, all due respect to him, you need more pass rushers. And we saw in the Super Bowl with Philadelphia how important it is to have those. And, yeah, the Titans have got a lot of work to do at that position.
Brad, as we wrap up, you host the Two Tone Talk podcast that focuses on the Tennessee Titans. You interact with a bunch of Titan fans on your show. What is the thought about where Tennessee is in the AFC South, and what's kind of the thought about, Jacksonville, Indy, and Houston entering the year?
I think among a lot of fans, as when you draft a quarterback first overall, I think the expectations change a little bit. I think for a lot of fans, after watching how bad the Titans were last year, now you're kind of resetting with, the team's a lot younger. They're kind of relying on these latest draft classes to hopefully be the heart and soul of the team. It kind of changes the expectations of, no matter how many games you win, you just want to see Cam Ward do well. You want to see those draft picks over the last couple of years do well. And that's the main thing you're looking for. And a lot of Titans fans, I think, realize that, maybe the win column might not look like you want it to, in a couple of years. But the most important thing is seeing the development of Cam Ward more than anything else. As far as the other teams, I think the general consensus among everybody is that Houston is the team to beat, I think, in the division, just because of the stability they have with Stroud. And I do think their offensive line got worse this offseason. But, they've got a lot of talent there, and they've won the division the last couple of years, and they're the safest bet. Even though, Indianapolis, I could go on a rant about Indianapolis. I don't understand why they get so hyped up every year by the media. And Jacksonville, I mean, you guys have to figure out how to win now because you've got Trevor on the big contract, and that's the time when you want to be competing. So I know obviously with their draft they had and Brian Thomas Jr., you're wanting to be, you're in a different boat than Tennessee with a new rookie quarterback. You're looking to be competitive right now. And so, I would say if any team right now would be picked to give Houston a run for their money, Jacksonville probably the safest bet behind Houston there because Tennessee just has the new quarterback and the uncertainty of Indianapolis with their quarterback. I think that's where it lands right now.
It's a bad division, but with it being a bad division, opens it up for pretty much every team in the division
Absolutely.
to think they could make a run. Brad Steele is the host of the Two-Tone Talk podcast covering the Tennessee Titans. Brad, thank you for the time. We'll certainly talk as the regular season approaches. Thank you as always, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now, another classic moment in Jags history.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. Now my family has to hear that I'm never coming home again.
Officer?
I'm so sorry. I have some very sad news to share with you.
Every day, 9 people on Florida roadways don't make it home. I was one of the people that didn't make it home.
Ride with Do Not Disturb. Every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely. A message from Florida Department of Transportation, Target Zero. For more information, visit targetzerofl.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Mike Dempsey, and now's the time to get your roof hurricane ready with Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jacks Beach. Look, our rainy season is no joke, and if your roof's got damage, leaks, or it's just plain worn out, don't wait. Apex is local, dependable, and will show up on time using only premium materials with ironclad warranties. No shortcuts, no stress, just quality work you can trust. Skip the storm season scramble. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jacks Beach or visit apexroofingfl.com.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece. Premium flooring. Take our advice. Home business, affordable price. Driveways, pool
is the deepest canyon in the United States.
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The deepest canyon in the United States is Hell's Canyon along the Oregon and Idaho border, about 8,000 feet deep at some point.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the